and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm having an okay day. I'm up pretty early to record this video before I start working. So last year I made a quick video about the serial killer Khalil Wheeler-Weaver, who murdered 3 young women and attempted to murder a 4th. Well, the trial wrapped up in December of last year, and so now I'm going to come at you with the facts from the case itself and things that were brought up during the case that shows how very interesting and very scary this actual situation occurred. So we're gonna jump right in. If you don't know who Khalil Wheeler-Weaver is, I'm gonna try to give you as much information about him as the serial killer because that's where we are right now. But feel free to go and check references and whatnot. But we're gonna jump right in with the outcome of the case itself. Khalil was found guilty of murdering a young woman whose last name was Butler, Robin West, and Joanne Brown. And he attempted to kill another woman. Her name is TT. That's what the name that she wants to be referenced as. And the entirety of these situations were on the basis that they met on dating apps with the intent to have sex. And he took advantage of that and killed 3 people. In fact, Sarah Butler, before their date, texted him and said, "Oh, wow, I hope you're not a serial killer," or "You're not a serial killer, right?" Which is kind of weird, like messed up, because he turned out to be. With the case itself, all the murders occurred in 2016, and he was finally convicted in 2019. All of these occurred in 2016, but he was finally convicted in 2019. He was ultimately caught when he had taken Sarah Butler. She was on Thanksgiving break, spending it with her family, took her on a date, and ultimately did not bring her back. Her family and friends immediately grew concerned because, obviously, and they went through her social media trying to pinpoint, like, is there something that's going to tell us where she is? And they came across a picture of Khalil. And they were like, okay, yeah, that was the young man that she left with. Let's try to connect with him to see if he knows anything. So they connected with him and actually convinced him to come meet them at a Panera Bread, but the cops were there and they apprehended him. But ultimately, they couldn't hold him for anything, and he went free. But about 2 weeks later, Sarah's body was found, and then the cops were able to connect the two. So here's why this entire case is very interesting and it makes people nervous. First off, black serial killers are rare in the sense that they don't get much coverage, and 2, I'm guessing they're not getting caught because, the FBI statistics say that there's active serial killers constantly. But Khalil went through the necessary channels to be considered a serial killer. On his browser history, he was looking up how to create poisons, how to knock a person out. Like, he was on the process of doing that. He also had failed his entrance exam to become a police officer. So he had the, looking for ways to hurt people and trying to get into a position of authority. Now, why this case is making people nervous is that there was very, very little physical evidence connecting Khalil to these young women. Khalil, like I said, did his research. He wore condoms with all of his interactions. He wore gloves for everything. And ultimately, the only amount of DNA evidence they were actually able to track back to him was his fingernails under one of his victims, his skin under one of his victim's fingernails. But he wasn't present on any of the other bodies. And the way that the prosecution figured it out, well, not necessarily figured out, is that they used geolocation for the rest of the crimes. So through his cell phone records, through surveillance, they were able to say, well, Khalil, you weren't at these places that you said you were. We see you on camera around the same time that the murder was committed. And your phone GPS told us that you were in the area. Now, why does that make people nervous? Because if that was used constantly in cases, then a lot of us would be in hot water, because a lot of us are in spaces where horrible crimes are committed at the time that they're committed, but we're not necessarily the perpetrators. So seeing a lot of the comments on the videos and the posts, a lot of people are like, well, that's flimsy evidence, that shouldn't be used in court because GPS location could be hacked, and it can be. Even like on your phone, you can change your location. If you're really nifty with that, you can change it on your computer. You change it on anything. So it made people nervous that that was the type of facts that were being presented in the case, and that was ultimately what got him convicted. But there's a lot more to this, so I'm going to try to keep staying on track for y'all. So we're going to talk about TT, the survivor of Khalil. So what happened, the way that TT described it is that she woke up, she had initially left and agreed to go on a date with Khalil, but she remembered waking up to him strangling her. And they were in a car and she's like, oh, fuck, of course. So she actually convinces him to take her back to the motel that they had met up at. And how she did that, I don't know. I applaud her for whatever she said because he drove her back. She locked herself in a motel room, got her cell phone, and called the cops. And then once Khalil, I guess, realizing that the jig is up, he dipped. He left. And TT was able to describe exactly what he was doing, what he was wearing, how they met, and that was also evidence used against him when it came to connecting with the other young women, because though there was no physical evidence, the way that TT described it is the way that the setup for the other young women occurred too. So they were also found with strangulation marks, like, just it connected too well to what was already occurring. So this happened in a span of 88 days, but he only killed 3 people. So there's also kind of like this up in the air thing of, are you going to consider him a spree killer or are you going to consider him a serial killer? And I am a true crime novice, but I personally think classified as a serial killer, it makes sense. He was methodical. He chose people based on their vulnerability because most of the ladies were either sex workers or they were agreeing to have sex with him in any case. And so choosing people like that, knowing that you're going to be with them in a very vulnerable state very soon, could address that. And spree killer, whenever I hear spree killer, I think you're constantly killing people like on the reg, like in a very short amount of time. 88 days is a very, very, very long time to only kill 3 people. But then again, I'm saying that having never killed anyone, and I feel as though from a point that's not a killer, that's a very short amount of time. But not being a killer, I don't know. Don't comment below if you're a killer to confirm. I don't care. Just be quiet. So that was the point of all of that. And once they were able to catch him, Khalil, of course, started lying. That's not me. I don't know her. Da 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 da. But not realizing that the women kind of left breadcrumbs. So just tips, like, this is not a tale of being scared to go on dates, but the young women still had him in his matches, like still were able to track their conversations because he was using the app Tagged. Well, the website Tagged. I remember Tagged. I had it Tagged when I was like young, but I haven't seen it in a while. And conversations are still there. Agreements of meeting was still there. So it wasn't looking too good for him. So we're going to just bring it all back. He was ultimately found guilty. Right now, I wasn't able to see exactly what, he was given, like what was put down as far as years and terms and stuff. Mainly people, which I really, really, truly appreciate. A lot of the things I've been finding have been very Black-centric and really like supporting the Black woman, because I think the one thing that really, really aggravates me about this case is that all the young ladies, Ms. Butler, Ms. Brown, everyone in there have been labeled as escort, sex worker, no name, just really emphasizing that because of their high risk lifestyle or whatever the situation is, that they don't deserve to be labeled as victims, which is why I partially also think that this is why it didn't get as much traction as it does. Because I felt like, holy crap, Black serial killer that kills Black women exclusively, why isn't this in the news? And then I was like, that's why it's not in the news, Diamond. You just answered your own damn question. So it really makes me happy in the sense that I'm seeing more articles saying, say their names. They were women too, they were people too, they were family members, they were workers, they were a part of a community, and they were snatched by someone, and they were killed. So regardless of their occupation, they did not deserve to die. And last year, when they were finally talking to Khalil, and he did thousands and thousands of interviews, of course, one of the things he did say is that for his reasoning for picking Black sex workers is that nobody cares about dead Black girls. And heartbroken, having been a Black girl, that broke my heart. And it also really, really stuck to me in the sense that black women's autonomy and sympathy for black women is non-existent. Non-existent. So I do appreciate the Medium. I saw an article through Medium that they were really saying the fact that y'all are going through this and not mentioning these women's name, not mentioning how important they were to their families and how important they were to their friends, but simply saying that they were sex workers who were murdered is really taking away the fact that they were human beings. And regardless of your occupation, regardless of what you do with your life, you do not deserve to be murdered. Okay. And so I'm praising women-centric and black-centric gosh, my mind, just mediums and articles that are talking about it because it is important. All of this occurred in New Jersey, and so that's hopping a skip away from me. But this happened when I was not living in New Jersey. So, wait, I never lived in New Jersey. When I was not living in New York. Sorry, y'all. It is very early, and I haven't had my tea yet. But yes. I do applaud the Butler family also for being vigilant and deciding, hey, this is unacceptable, which I feel like any black family, and I'm talking from a place of being black, obviously that's the only place I can talk from. It definitely seems like something my parents would have done, my friends would have done, my girlfriends definitely would have done, because any date or any person that I interact with, my girlfriends are the first to know. They receive the first name and they receive the picture, that's it. And I know for sure they would be on top of that 100%. But I do applaud the Butler family for reaching out to Khalil and arranging a situation to bring him out to confront him. Because I know it could have went 1,000 different ways. They could have, confronted him, beaten him black and blue, saying, "Where's my daughter?" And then more than likely that would have shut him up. But they went through the process of saying, okay, we're going to get law enforcement involved because we ultimately need this man to, be held accountable for what he did to our daughter, or potentially did to our daughter. Because at that time, they didn't even know that she was deceased. They just knew, you were the last person that was with our daughter. We just want to know where she is. So I applaud the Butler family, and of course, they're in my thoughts and prayers. All of the families involved are in my thoughts and prayers. Miss TT, definitely in my thoughts and prayers, because I can't imagine how it is to survive a serial killer. Like, how to talk your way out of being murdered. I applaud you. And I completely understand why you don't want to be known, why you want to be anonymous, because the world is really screwed up and people get a sick fantasy of antagonizing survivors. So, Miss TT, I don't know you, but I'm sending you all the blessings and all the vibes, and you're always in my thoughts and prayers with that. So yeah, that has been the wrap up of Mr. Wheeler-Weaver's case. He is going to be detained in New Jersey, and I really just hope that the families are healing now that they know for sure what happened and where their daughters are, because I know with cases like this, if Khalil would have escalated and continued, it would have been a process of trying to connect bodies and figure out who went missing when. But the fact that these families were so well connected and realized something was wrong, were able to, it took 3 years for him to, be connected and all that stuff, but 3 years compared to eternity is nothing, right? You're going to be able to mourn with your family appropriately, put your family to rest. It's nice to know where they are and that the person who did it to them is no longer available to do this to other people. So yeah, that's the wrap up. I'm not a true crime I'm a true crime person. I like to watch true crime stuff. Trust me, I like Bailey Sarian. I watch her crap all the time, and that chapter all the time. But I don't do videos about true crime too much because I get too emotionally invested. One, like I said, from a black standpoint and a woman's standpoint, but anything that has to do with black boys or black men, it really gives me like a little pain because I am a big sister of 3 black dudes. So it really just pains me when I see stuff like that, especially young black men assaulting black women. And that just, because Khalil was like 20 something, early 20s when he committed these crimes. And I'm just appalled at his total disregard for his black sister, pretty much. Just, that's where it is. And not that I wish that a white person did this. I don't wish anyone did this. It just appalls me. His statement about nobody caring about black girls and the fact that he chose specifically people that he knew was vulnerable in his own community. But I digress. I've given you too much of my own opinion about this. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe. I'll have a new video for you more than likely tomorrow, but I woke up early because when I finally saw that everything had been wrapped up with the Khalil case, I had to tell y'all because I made a video last year. And thank you to everyone that commented under that video, and people that were saying I was wrong, people that were saying I was right, people that were agreeing, people that were starting conversations. That's what I love. If you think that everything I said in this video was wrong, tell me. It's not going to hurt my feelings. It's not. It just tells me that you watched it and you too are concerned about what I'm saying and making sure everything's up to code. So, not upset about that. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and post this now, and I will have a new video for y'all tomorrow.